Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk number 27. So follow along with us on Google Plus at bit.ly/Tweet Talk 27, as well as the Twitter hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, if you're interested in being our person of the day, then check out our website at edumatch.education and fill out that Google form there. We will promote you for a period of 24 hours with the information that you supply us. Wanted to give a huge shout out to our friends at DigSit Summit UK and EdCamp Global Classroom 16. If you haven't already been following those hashtags on Twitter, then you might want to do so. Great stuff being done. Hashtag DigSit Summit UK and hashtag ECGC16. All right, so tonight's topic is going to be about brainstorming the best school-to-home connection. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to the moderator for tonight, Zena.
Hey, thank you, Sarah. Everybody can hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Wonderful. Okay, so as she said, my name is Zena Brown, and I'm moderating our chat. This is a continuation of a talk we had about homework, and what was really exciting about that talk was having so many great educators that I wanted us to go beyond the worksheet with the drill and kill and start to give people great examples of what can that school to home connection be like. And I want to credit Valerie Lewis for coming up with that great phrase of school to home connection. I know we've got a lot of people on here, and so I want to jump right in. Our first question was, and as I throw out the first question, if you could do it by way of introducing yourself and then sharing your thoughts on it, was, do we need work outside of the school day? So in light of everything that can happen in a classroom now, there are some parents that feel that, wow, my kids have activities and things to do, and assignment beyond the school day cuts into my family time. So if you can introduce your thoughts and just share your, introduce yourself and share your thoughts on that very first question, that would be really neat. So let's start with Valerie. If you can jump in and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Valerie Lewis, and I am a Georgia educator. I work with students in the 10th and 11th grade special needs classroom, and I do believe that there should be an extension from learning within the school day. At the end of the day, not every kid gets it at the same rate. So though you may be a phenomenal teacher within the classroom, there needs to be meaningful and purposeful practice and an extension happening outside of the school day. So that may not come in the form of a worksheet per se, but there needs to be an extension, I believe, to the school day.
So thank you, Valerie, for that introduction and for your answer there. We're going to jump over to Christian and then follow him with Josh and finish up with Lior on this first question. So Christian, if you go ahead and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christian Padgett. I am an instructional technology coach in Fulton County Schools. And should there be work outside of the school day? I think the answer is yes, and I feel that way in a variety of ways. I feel like it should be based on what the students may need. You know, if they need remediation, then yes, I feel like the work sometimes need to be drill and skill. Sometimes I think the work may need to be something where it's extended and getting the kids to think more critically, depending on where they're at within their academics. And sometimes I feel like it prepares them for life because, let's be real, as educators, we go home every day and continue to work. In your job, no matter where you are, you will continue to work sometimes outside of the regular work day. So that's my response.
Let's go ahead over to Josh, and thank you for that answer, Christian.
Hello, my name is Josue Falaise. I'm a principal, a junior high school principal, 7 and 8 building in central New Jersey. I also agree that there should be an extension from home to school. The work should be correlated to what is actually occurring during the school day, because sometimes students don't actually attain the knowledge or experience that's provided during the school day. So I think that home should be able to further enrich it. Now, the concern it comes when I guess when it's moving towards more only technology, and the parents that do not have access to technology during the day, that brings a concern, and as well as students that are taking care of family members like younger brothers and sisters or family members that don't have the time because this parent's working 2 or 3 jobs. However, if you don't provide that enrichment for them, at least having it ready for the kids who don't, again, attain the knowledge, the mastery of the skill, that's just giving more lag time, which is comparable to like having that summer loss.
Thank you, Josh. So let's finish up with this first question, and we've got Lior. Go ahead, and would you share about yourself and give us your thoughts on that first question?
Sure. My name is Lior Weinstein. I am the CEO of the Kids Know It Network. And that question is actually very important to me because we have over a million kids visiting our websites every month after school to follow up with homework and learn more. So, and I personally didn't like school very much growing up. Never had any academics problems per se, but I still kind of resented it. I don't see a significant issue with any extension of schoolwork into the regular day, but I think it should be in a different form. What it is now, it feels like a lot of kids that we're working with, they're giving a very similar assignment to tackle that they would solve it the same way they would in the classroom, and that just doesn't work in a home setting. So I think that tasks that people get at the home environment should be more conducive to something you can actually do with a variety of distractions and other people involved also.
Okay. So you guys, thank you for those answers for that first question. I think we've got some interesting pieces that we can put together from Lior saying that, you know, it needs to be something that can be accomplished alone in the home environment, which he followed up and really supported what Josh shared with us, as well as Christian, who is just always real honest and in your face about, wow, what happens next in a student's life instead of just for today. So with that then, because I've got all these great educators with me and we've got the people on Twitter, what I'm looking for next from us is, can we share some examples of what is a quality, I can't think of a word other than assignment, but a quality connection from school to home. So how should we as educators, and how should I as a parent expect to see the education continue for my child with that home to school connection interaction? So if you all want to jump in, we can start with Valerie if you want to, because I know you've got children. What do you want to see your children bringing home, and what do you want to do as a teacher?
The things that I would like, well, I think the number one thing is there needs to be a very clear and concise pipeline of communication from the teacher to the home. So I know several school districts use parent newsletters to kind of introduce skills for the week ahead. And sometimes, though that is helpful, it's not helpful enough. I find a lot of times that there are things that my sons are bringing home, and because I'm a teacher and I may have that training, I know how to go and search additional resources for helping them to get that learning. But if I were not a teacher, I think a lot of times I'd find myself lost. And believe it or not, there are some times I find myself lost trying to support my child's learning at home because it's just not clear. It's not concise. I'm trying to figure out what's happening in the classroom that actually relates to this worksheet that's coming home. When my child is at a loss about what to even do with the worksheet, it has me wondering, well, didn't your teacher go over this in class? Why is it that I feel like I'm teaching versus reinforcing the learning? And so I think that communication is a big piece. I would like to see things that are more meaningful versus just memorizing questions or answering questions on a worksheet. How do I take my child deeper? And I know that the budget in schools are limited. My son is at a Title I school. So no, he may not be able to come home with actual manipulatives in a bag, but I think creating those projects like project-based learning, those things truly go deeper. That's an extension to the learning that can happen in more than just here's a worksheet for 30 minutes, do this, and then tomorrow I'm going to send you another worksheet that looks just like the one that came on Monday. And then on Wednesday, there's going to be another worksheet that looks just like the one that came on Monday and Tuesday. And Thursday, here's another worksheet that looks just, and so the cycle and the saga continues. So I think if we can get more into a project-based learning, hands-on model, let's dig, let's investigate, let's explore, let's challenge our understanding. I think for me, that would be more meaningful. And if the teacher can help parents understand how to support that, then I think we'll get meaningful learning that way.
Okay. I like that, Valerie. What I want to do is let's jump over to Christian and make sure we still got Josh with us, and then we'll finish up the second question with Lior. So, Christian, you're a teacher. You've got this fantastic room that I'm going to come and visit next semester. What are you able to send home with your students that's different than a worksheet with 50 problems?
I think sometimes what I'm seeing in my role, because I do work with students, but I'm not their actual homeroom teacher, and I only see a group of students 45 minutes every other week. I don't know. I start to think about, I'm hearing what Valerie said a little bit, and I'm starting to think, how can we transform homework to an extent to make it look like almost a genius hour so it is relatable to what students want to do? Mm-hmm. It's going against what their interests are, but they still get to learn the skills that they need to know for school. For example, they need to know, for most of us, I know for us in Georgia, we're a Common Core state, although our standards don't necessarily Common Core in them. So there are research standards that they have to be able to accomplish. Allow them to research different things on their own. You don't always have to have, I work in a Title I school too. 100% of my students are on free and reduced lunch. However, a lot of them have cell phones and know how to be very creative with their cell phones. Let them utilize their cell phones in a way in which they can utilize YouTube to find resources or go online and find resources that they may need for something that they're interested in. And I also do think that sometimes beyond the skill and drill, because I work with a lot of students who are, they don't necessarily have the background knowledge that they need to have. And sometimes they don't have the prereq skills to do certain things because they don't have that background knowledge. I sometimes think the skill and drill is needed, but in a way to do it, if we're doing it in school, then sometimes let them reflect at home on what it is that they've actually learned. So let's take it beyond that. And I know you will hear me talk a lot about blogging and how I really want to blog with students even more this year. But sometimes let's stop reinventing the wheel and let's call it what it is. Let them journal. They may not have the technology at home, but they can use a sheet of paper. Let them journal about what it is that they've learned in that day, what they feel like they need help with, so that way they're still self-assessing and they're building their metacognitive skills. So, yeah.
Thank you, Christian. Let's go ahead, Josh. I feel like Christian led into some of the things that you said in your opening about students in equity, which we'll get to a little bit more. But what do you want as a principal? Because I know your teachers, or I've been in places where teachers feel like I have to send home 30 minutes of homework for every single subject for students. What is a quality product that you want your teachers sending home for your students? And what do you want as a parent? Because I see your kids in the background there.
Valerie really went into detail, and Christian just further expanded. It's like not much more to say besides not just the project-based, but even now when you start moving towards problem-based learning, where students are solving real-world problems. Again, if we're moving to the 21st century, skills. I mean, it's not just technology, but I mean talking about problem-solving skills, critical, interdependence, and independent skills. The students need to move beyond, just as Valerie stated, the paper, pencil, and I really love the blogging, because some of my teachers are starting to blog. And again, I never thought about just using the notebook, even though they do it during the school day, but then extend it for the students who are unable to use that. There needs to be also a great opportunity for self-reflection. There's not enough of that. It's just students are in that drill and kill, and then when they get home, it's more drill and kill if you're only issuing the 30 minutes or 20 minutes of a paper pencil type of assignment. So I totally agree with everything that everyone has said. Now, as a parent, I'm not there yet. He's my only one. He's only 3 years old. But what I would definitely love to see if they're looking to branch and connect it. So when you're moving in more like problem-based, project-based, unit-based type of activities and assignments, the work should be on a continuum. So tonight I'll bring this. This is part of the response or activity for this overall problem, and then it's just constantly building on, and parents can support the bigger picture, because at the end of the unit, the students see what they're supposed to accomplish, and then they're seeing the progress from the smaller step to the larger step as they grow.
Thank you, Josh. What I want to do, let's finish up with Lior on this question, and Sarah, I've got that final question, and you'll let me know if we're doing okay time-wise. So let's jump over to Lior. What do you have in terms of what solid school-to-home connection with learning and going beyond even electronic worksheets, just the whole process?
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking about what Valerie said, I actually was fortunate enough to be about a month and a half ago or a couple of months ago in Denver for a conference, for an education conference, where Dr. Sugata Mitra spoke about his SOUL method, self-organized learning environments, which is, I kind of prefer over PBLs. And the way I see it, with a project, you still have a very kind of strict definition of what needs to happen. Whereas with a SOUL, which is based on this open-ended question, right? You're trying to give a topic to discuss or something a bit more generic to talk about with other people. And I feel that when you remove those definitions, then you open interpretations. And back to what I was saying about adapting the homework so it's different than the schoolwork, if you open the interpretation to something that the parents can also engage in, right? If it's a math question, maybe that obviously depends on the subject matter, but if there's a way to give something that's more real-world application, which I know a lot of parents that we speak to have a lot of criticism about, also about real-life skills, so to speak, that the kids are lacking today. If you manage to translate that homework into something where both the parents and the kids and other people can discuss and engage and learn, I feel that would be a much better method. And it really doesn't matter. I feel that if it's worksheet you send home or digital or an app, that the medium just opens more options. I don't feel it's restrictive by the fact that it's a sheet of paper when you do it in an open-ended question that way.
Okay. So what I want to do is kind of sum up some of the great suggestions. So we had Valerie that really stressed the communication pipeline between the parents and looking at the resources and materials, and maybe parents can jump in there and help make some of those things. I like Christian when he threw out the idea of being kind of an at-home genius hour, and then still acknowledging that if everyone is not coming in with all the tools and resources and background, there may still be a need for some practice in terms of assignments. And even going old school of going, they could use a pencil and paper and journal as opposed to just always blogging electronically. I thought that was great to share. And then Josh, as he came in and he talked about wanting his teachers to have assignments that go and along the continuum in terms of opening up from simple to being more complex. And then finishing up with Lior with talking about open-ended and real-world type of suggestions. So what I wanted to finish up and throw out as my last question, and then Sarah will help me in terms of for you all. What do I do? Because I feel like there's going to be someone that says, this is all good and this is great, but my students may not have, but my students are missing this. If we can kind of quickly go back around, what do you do for that teacher that's enthusiastic with all the suggestions we've got, but they're going to be following it up with, my students are going to be missing, or they don't have, what's your your way of helping them. So Valerie, if you can just share some suggestions on how we can bridge whatever type of equity gap our students might have.
And so when you say our students are missing, we're talking about they can be missing access to certain things or missing skills as well. Am I understanding the question correct?
Absolutely,
the
Valerie.
whole thing.
So it's that whole continuum.
Okay.
There's going to be a teacher where they're missing access, they're missing support. Some of the things Josh brought up, they might have siblings they've got to tend to first. So we know our students come with a backpack just full of the world when they come into our classrooms. What are our suggestions for helping?
Well, I would say to that teacher, you're not alone. I've not run into a classroom yet where a kid was moving along at the same pace and they all had everything. So if you're talking about using great instructional strategies, we've got to learn how to differentiate. You know, we've got some kids that are going to be high flyers and their parents can provide everything for them. You know, we're going to have some kids that they're there at the school till 6 o'clock waiting on someone to pick them up possibly. We just have to find ways to meet each and every individual student the best we can. Can we save them all at the same time? No, I'm going to be a realist. That is in a utopian society, in a utopian world. There's going to be one that unfortunately may fall through the crack. But did you give it your best? Did you give it your darndest, or did you just come up with an excuse? Well, I don't have this for this one and I don't have this for that one. You just got to figure out what works for each child. And that first starts with rapport. Get to know that child. Let that child know that you are there to support them and you want them to win. And you'll find ways to make this assignment for little Johnny, this assignment for Sarah. And though I know that sounds like, oh my God, I'm going to have to prepare 25 different lessons, probably not. But we have to as educators, figure out a way that's going to make our workflow easier, but find a way that where we could reach most kids at least. I can't say aim for all 100. That may not be ideal, but we got to find a way versus keep looking at the excuses and what holds us back. And Zena, before you jump over, I know there was a teacher who had a question from Twitter who asked about parents resisting the homework sheets that are coming home. And I think when you run into those parents that have a busy lifestyle and a busy schedule, they're running the daughter to ballet, the sons to football practice. Those are probably the parents that are frustrated with the 1,000,001 things that are coming in home after school. But I think if we go back to what Lior was saying, having those open-ended questions, sometimes homework can be a discussion that you're having in the car on the way to practice with your child. I think those things will kind of eliminate some of that. I think a lot of parents are looking at these worksheets as busy work. So I could see the resistance coming in. So if we can find better ways to address homework, then maybe those parents won't be so hesitant.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go over. Thank you, Valerie. And then let's go over to Christian. What are your suggestions for bridging the gap?
I think one thing that we have to do, and I know it's not the easiest always, but we have to build a relationship with the parents first. Because if we can build those relationships with the parents, then the assignments that we give won't always come into question because they understand that we're doing what's best for their child. I think that's a huge part. I want to go back and also answer that question from Twitter about what do you do when those parents who resist, who want all the extra homework, who want the practice, the skill and drill, because I've had parents like that. What you end up doing is for those parents, you give them that skill and drill, but then you differentiate the homework. For some of your kids, you differentiate it because I think that's another thing. We don't understand the difference between differentiation versus personalization versus individualization. Your homework does not have to be individualized. It can be differentiated. Differentiation is when you're working for a group of students. And so in that case, for a group of your students, give them that skill and drill. It doesn't necessarily have to be every day. For some of your students, give them that genius hour. Some of your students, give them where something that's a depth of knowledge 2 level where they're just applying what they've learned. Sometimes homework doesn't have to be, especially if we're talking about equity, sometimes get the newspaper, get an article from online. The kids are reading something. It doesn't always have to be a book, but utilize those different tools that they have and that you have at home, and allow the kids to, I know for us, reading is a hard thing for some of the kids, the comprehension piece. So go through and read with the kids and have a conversation about what it is that they read. And I'm sure that they will start talking back with you, and that dialogue shows that they have some type of comprehension about what it is that you've been reading or learning. So I think that's also a big thing to also work along with equity. And then as well, you know, again, going back to the relationship piece with parents and students. I've had students stay after school with me a lot before. So I think that is a big thing as well. If you have that relationship built with parents, then some of the things that you know you want them to do at home, but they may not have, they can stay at school with you and do. It may not be every day, it may not necessarily be every week, but it goes back to that trust that parents have with you.
So thank you, Christian, and let's go ahead and we're going to go over to Josh and then finish up with Lior on this question, and then I'll kind of bring it together, and Sarah will let me know where we are next.
I agree with Valerie and Christian. The first thing is we talk about developing a relationship with the parents, but the core has to be a relationship with the kids, because students, when you have that relationship with them, that positive relationship, they will work harder for you than they will for themselves, and sometimes even their parents. So as I put out before, where you're having problem-based solving and responses and like a unit-based type of curriculum, you're showing the students with the end in mind. And as you have the assignments, sometimes you'll have them in advance. Like we post our curriculum online. Some of the activities, everything except for, I think, language arts, math, summative assessments, because they are problem-based, so parents can actually go online and try to figure it out beforehand. It's never like usually one way of solving it. So as they progress, almost like a syllabus, students see what's expected of them from the start. Again, we're doing a 7-8 school. Imagine it should be happening in high school also. So when by unit 1, you need to accomplish this, and these are some of the activities. It's prepared, so it's not just even worrying about doing it that night. You could do it throughout the week. Again, throughout the relationship, that you push the students, because once you give them an expectation and they have that relationship with you, the child will work harder, again, hard for you than they would for than anyone else. So to me, relationship is the key, and high expectations, because the students won't know anything different if you don't give them anything different, and they will find a way. I've worked in high priority schools, the 90-90-90, and I've worked in the suburban schools, and regardless, as a teacher too, so regardless of where I was at, because of those high expectations, because of relationships, the students achieve, and when I provide the same expectations for staff, the staff achieve along with the students.
Thank you. Lior, will you go ahead and finish this one up, and then I'll wrap it up and throw it to Sarah?
Sure. So I'm going to look at it from a bit of a different angle. I feel like in a lot of the cases across most grades, if the student still has, let's call it hope, when there's still enough time to the semester, they can catch up lost material with whatever methods or time they have available to them. So I feel, to me, it's a lot more important to make sure that the student doesn't lose that and doesn't just build frustration, rather than try to catch up on specific tasks, so to speak. And on that note, I feel like for the teacher, if they're worried about specific methods or assets or resources that the students might not have, I would say try to figure out the student's support system. What is his emotional support system? Parents, neighbors, friends, other teachers. Who are the other adults or the other people influencing their lives, and see how you can involve them to supporting the kid. Because I feel like kids can figure it out once they're relaxed and they have enough time to do it, rather than try and force a specific worksheet for a deadline.
Thank you for that. So what I find is kind of really cool with this chat is we began with Valerie talking about relationship. So if we're talking about building great examples, I thought that was fantastic. And then definitely Christian talking about we need to personalize, individualize, and differentialize. Was that the word you used in there, Christian? And then when Josh talked about things being online. So looking at the panel, we probably almost had like 100 years of experience utilizing technology, but it wasn't necessarily what drove that school-to-home connection, because we talked about so many other ways where we could go old school with pencil and paper, and then the support system, when Lior kind of wrapped it up with the support system for the student, that was fantastic. I really just wanted us to kind of come back to this and make sure we were able to give our peers, our counterparts, great examples of what to do beyond a worksheet or a homework assignment that is just a day. So Sarah, I know we're way over time, but I appreciate it. I just want to throw it back to you. If you want to wrap us up, that would be fantastic. Thank you guys so much. This was my jumping out of the plane with my parachute open experience from Sarah's keynote talk that she did about just kind of moving beyond what you fear. So thank you for having me as your moderator. I hope you guys out there got some great ideas. Absolutely want to thank the panelists for being very patient with me. You guys did a terrific job.
Zena, thank you so much. You did phenomenal. So thank you very much for moderating. Thank you to all of our panelists today. Thank you to everyone who is participating on Twitter, and to all of our viewers as well. Y'all are amazing, and y'all are what makes EduMatch what it is. So this podcast will be available on iTunes within a few weeks. You can also catch the video version of the Hangout at bit.ly/tweettalk27. And the Twitter chat will be storified. Come back in about 28 minutes. If y'all come back in 28 minutes, then we will be doing a double header. So the next show will be an educational disturbances, actually going to be moderated by Valerie, who is on panel right now. And on the Twitter side, we're going to have Joven moderate there. So definitely check that out. The Google Hangout link is bit.ly/tweettalk27A, the letter A, the lowercase a. There we go. So if you're interested in being on panel, then please feel free to leave a message at bit.ly/tweettalk27A. The topic's going to be an educational disturbance. So we're looking at things that are going on in Philadelphia, in Detroit. We're going to be talking about that. So also, we have our EduMatch end of year blabathon that will be going on December 30th, going from 12 noon all the way to 11 p.m. So we have a couple slots left. It's almost fully booked, but if you're interested in joining us, then please do so at bit.ly/blabathon sign up. And last but not least, wanted to give a huge shout out to Nicole Howard, to Rochelle Wooten, to Shana White, to Carla Jefferson, for EdCamp Boxer, which is going on right now. So you can sign up for that at bit.ly/E, lowercase d, capital C, lowercase AMP, capital V, Oxer 2015. So check that out as well. So the link is on Twitter. It was dropped from the EduMatch account a few minutes ago. So if you'd like to subscribe, then please do so at bit.ly/EduMatch podcast. So everyone have a great night and happy holidays.